Hi, I'm here with Dave Anthony from the Dollop podcast. Check it out. We'll put a link underneath. Steph Zamorano, the Miserable Liberal, is here.
Hello.
We're going to talk about what's really happening in Syria. If you saw our video on Barack Obama, just know that whenever you hear someone from the government talking about Syria, they're lying. Okay? John Kerry, Barack Obama, the UN ambassador, no matter who it is, if they're from the government or talking about Syria, they're lying. Why are we in Syria? We're not there to help people. Okay? So I'm going to go back to an article from the New York Times. This is from 2013. Islamist rebels create dilemma on Syria policy. Really? What is the dilemma? What would be the dilemma? It says, if this is from 2013, it says in Syria's largest city, Aleppo, rebels aligned with al-Qaeda control the power plant, run the bakeries, and head a court that applies Islamic law. The rebels aligned with al-Qaeda. This is in 2013. Guess what we're doing? We're arming them and training them and giving them money. So elsewhere, they have seized government oil fields, put employees back to work, and now profit from the crude they produce. That's in Syria. Nusra's hand is felt most strongly in Aleppo, where the group has set up a camp in a former children's hospital. What? That goes against everything the media and the government is telling me. That the people we're working with, the al-Qaeda offshoots in Syria, they're the ones taking over hospitals and having their military be based inside hospitals? Isn't that weird? And has worked with other rebel groups to establish a Sharia commission in the Eye Hospital next door to govern the city's rebel-held neighborhoods. So when you hear they say, hey, Assad is bombing hospitals.
They're in there.
They're in there.
That's where you got to bomb if the bad guys are there. The guys you're fighting, if they're in a hospital, then you have to shoot the hospital or else they get to do whatever they want. So
this is what's happening. So the people we're supporting and funding and arming are attacking a sovereign nation, and the way they're doing it, when they invade, they kill innocent people and they set up military bases inside hospitals. Now, do I think that Assad should bomb hospitals? No. I'll just go no. But do I think rebels should be setting up military bases inside hospitals? No. All bad guys. How about that?
There's also no rules in war. Let's stop pretending like there are.
Right. If we dropped nuclear bombs, how many hospitals got blown up with that nuclear bomb? I'm going to guess at least a couple. Right?
4 max.
The commission and then the commission runs a police force and an Islamic court that hands down sentences that have included lashings. So this is what we're supporting in Syria. We're supporting this. So if we topple Assad, who's a secular leader, at the behest of Saudi Arabia and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, one of the most repressive theocracies in the human rights abuses in the world. And we're going to go topple a secular leader in the Middle East, another secular leader. We did it in Iran with Mossadegh. We did it in Iraq with Saddam Hussein. We did it in Libya with
Gaddafi. But those all worked out.
But those worked out fine.
There's no problems now in those places.
When we want to do it in Syria. We want to get rid of. So this is the whole thing. We don't want democracies in the Middle East. We don't want any of that. We don't want governments that rules in favor of the people. We want easy access to your fossil fuels and get the fuck out of our way.
I see. The thing about the fossil fuels is like, number one, I'm confused as to how these guys make money off of, because in a war-torn area, you're in the middle of a war, what are they driving trucks of fossil fuels out? Like, what's happening exactly?
I don't know.
The mechanics behind
Yeah.
that is amazing to me. But the other thing is like, so we want, like, this is, Russia wants to build a pipeline, right? That's why they want Syria.
Russia does not want to build a pipeline through Syria. They want to stop the pipeline coming through Syria.
That's what they want to stop.
Because Qatar, they want to put a pipeline through, and so does Iran. They both have it's a natural gas, the largest natural gas reserve they think in the whole world. They found it, and so Iran has access to it, and so does Qatar, and they both want to have their own pipeline go through Syria so they can bring that to Europe. Now Russia already supplies all that fossil fuel to Europe, and they don't want to have their market impeded on by Qatar or Iran.
Okay.
So you get this.
Now I get
So that's why they say no pipeline.
Right.
So that's why they say no pipeline. That's why they're backing Assad. And that's why Assad knows he's safe, because as long as Russia backs him, which they will, there's nothing going to happen to Assad. We're just going to kill a lot more innocent people, which is why we should get the F out of that country, Dave.
But even if we win, whatever winning looks like now, you're not going to have one solid force controlling a country. It's completely destabilized now. So what are we still fighting for if we're fighting to have a pipeline put in there? Because it's too destabilized now to do anything. There will be no infrastructure built, including pipelines and roads and everything else.
Dave, you're saying we don't have an exit strategy? Come on. You think the guys who would go into Afghanistan in the early aughts didn't have an exit strategy? You think those same guys are working this plan?
We had an exit strategy in Iraq. It was it'll be fine.
It'll be all right. It'll be fine. There'll be a black guy. He'll fix it.
By the way, I did a podcast on the Iraq War on the Dollop, which I think people would enjoy.
People should check out the Dollop podcast. It is a great podcast. I've listened to it. It is great. So what I'm saying is, so we want to topple Assad, and what are we going to replace him with? Well, the people that were there in 2013, according to the New York Times, are freaking crazy religious people. They're already setting up Sharia law inside of a secular state. That's who we're pushing, just like we pushed in Saudi Arabia. We backed them. The worst of the worst. Wahhabism is what we're spreading.
Which is the worst.
So it says, across Syria, rebel-held areas are dotted with Islamic courts staffed by lawyers and clerics and fighting brigades led by extremists. That's who Assad is fighting against, religious extremists, who we're backing. So look, nobody ever tells you this in the mainstream media. We're backing the people we're supposed to be fighting against a secular government in the Middle East, which is the craziest thing in the world. And the media will never tell you this.
Look, it's like Saddam Hussein was a terrible guy. Assad's a terrible guy. But at the end of the day, they keep a cap on really terrible guys.
And they keep a secular government going, and women have rights, and people go to college, and people have health care.
That's what people don't know about Iraq. Iraq, as far as taking care of the people, was way more advanced than any country in the Middle East. Women were educated. They were able to do, for the most part, what they wanted compared to other countries in that area. So, that's sort of what we get rid of when we topple these guys. A secular government is, It obviously, with the way they crack down, it can be brutal. But at the same time, what's worse? Look at what's happening in Aleppo. Look how are the kids living their life now as compared to they were before.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, it was a great country before, and now it's horrible. It says it's a wreck because what? We wanted to overthrow Assad. It's a wreck. It was a great country. I mean, I've watched videos of people I just watched a video of a nun who went there, and she came back, and she says exactly the opposite of what our government says. She's like, everything was great until the Arab Spring, and then these people from not our country came in to start peaceful protests, except they were armed, and they started killing people.
Yeah. I mean, so it started with the drought, then the farmers lost their farms, they went into the city, and then all these people mixing, and that's when we sent in the instigators.
That's when we sent in instigators. With our arms. Even the Supreme Military Council, the umbrella rebel organization whose formation the West has hoped would sideline radical groups, is stocked with commanders who want to infuse Islamic law into a future Syrian government. Nowhere in rebel-controlled Syria is there a secular fighting force to speak of. That's from 2013 from the New York frickin' Times. Nowhere in all of Syria is there a secular fighting force beside the Assad government.
Now there was a secular fighting force up in the northwest, but then the head guy got assassinated by ISIS a couple months ago.
The ISIS who were probably training in Jordan. So there you go. That's from 2013. That's from 2013 in the New York Times. It's not somebody that. So that's what the mainstream news press is already admitting. They're already admitting, but when they refer to the people we're training and supporting, we call them rebels. And who are they? They're ISIS, they're Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra. These are all or under the blanket Free Syrian Army. We need to get the hell out of Syria. Don't believe a goddamn thing the media tells you. Don't believe a goddamn thing you see on CNN or MSNBC or John Kerry or Barack Obama, because they're all lying to you, just like General Eisenhower told us.
War is ratings.